Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a long-awaited classic for you today. We'll learn how to do Wait by White Lion. So this features the amazing Vito Bratta. This is the first lesson I've done for any music, any cover in Vito at all, which is, intentional. His stuff's hard to play. it's hard to get right, and but it's just he's got some amazing stuff. So if you guys don't know much about Vito Bratta, you should check out his music. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of it out there, but his stuff with White Lion, some of the greatest like 80s rock guitar there is. So quite the scary player, but extremely musical at the same time. So, and this is a really fun song to play. So we're going to cover this one note for note, go through all the rhythm parts, which are challenging as well, and the killer solo, which is just instant classic. So before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and ring the notification bell so you know always a new video. Using a like and comment the videos, it really helps it reach more people with the whole YouTube algorithm. It's very finicky. And if you really want to support what I do here on YouTube, the best way to do it is actually just join my Guitar Academy. It's my online guitar school. Contains all my guitar courses. You're going to see a link to it in the description below. That link will give you a free 7-day trial too. And my academy has all my courses, from complete beginner courses to more advanced courses on technique, improvisation, ear training, and theory, and guitar tone. You get personalized support from me there. And you also get to attend a weekly live video chat with me. So it's just for Academy members and me, and you can get all your questions answered for the week in real time. So it's a good little hang. So hopefully you'll come and hang out with us. All right, so let's jump into the track. I'm in standard tuning here. Now I started with the heavy parts because they're a lot of fun to play. But I'm going to go back and do the clean parts first, the intro, the acoustic intro. So Vito's playing a 12 string here, so it can be a little bit deceiving on when you're listening to it, like trying to pick out the picking patterns that are going on. So the better way to do that is actually find some videos of him playing it live, which there's not many either. And you can pick up the picking pattern that he's doing because he just plays it on clean electric guitar live, and pick out the picking pattern. And then take it back to the recording, and then you go, oh, okay, so it is the same picking pattern he's doing live. It's just with 12 string, it's always deceiving because you're hearing different octaves of notes and all that stuff going on, and it's kind of buried in the mix at times. So that's why I've done some of that here as well. So I think we've got it right here. So let's check it out here. We're going to have this intro, which looks like this. Obviously, there's a big hit at the end there with the electric guitar. So let's take a look at this. Now, this sounds like there's a low D in there at times, like an open D with it. What's going on is, I think you're hearing the octave of the Ds. The thing is, too, you're hearing the bass, but you hear this going. Is building up the whole time. So that's kind of keeping the low end down, so he can just do this. So this is going to start here, the 5th fret there on the high E, 7th on the B, and 7th of the G. So I'm just picking it from the high E string across to the G string twice. And then I'm going to pick just the high E and the B. So it's an 8-note pattern there. Then you're going to take that down to just, you're going to bar the 5th fret across the B and the high E with the 6th fret there on the G. Same pattern, same 8-note pattern. Now we're going to do the exact same thing 2 frets lower, so at the 3rd fret. And now let's take the same thing down to the 1st fret. So kind of halfway through that, the second, so you do the full pattern on the first one, and this last one, it's kind of, so just kind of hits the open A string a couple times, goes into this A chord. All right, so that's kind of just the intro. Obviously, that's a big hit there with the distorted guitars. And then we have more 12-string acoustic here for this kind of intro verse. Looks like this. All right, so at the very end of that, there's an overdub, a higher acoustic part that comes in there. So you can hear some higher voicings, basically, of these chords that we're doing down here. But you still have the same thing going on below as well. So we're just gonna kind of continue that, not do that little quick little high overdub. He didn't really do that live anyway. So we're gonna start here, this open A string, 7th fret on the D, 6 on the G, 5 on the B. So we have the A string, D, G, B, G, D. Just kind of got that timing to it. Then all you're gonna do is you're gonna pick up the note that's on the G string. So you have the open G string here. So you still keep that 5 on the B and the 7 on the D. And you're gonna do a picking pattern. So that's going to be picking the B string, G, D, and then back to the G. You can do that twice. So we have this. So you notice how when you're doing those, you're kind of picking straight through. You're not doing any of those kind of pauses. So when he hits this, the second time when he hits that D string, while he's hitting the G, he's sliding down to this F sharp. So see that? So it's pretty cool. And then when you get here to this 4th fret there on the D, you're gonna play the 3rd fret there on the B, 2nd fret on the G. So we have, after you slid down to the 4, you play that 2nd fret on the, 3rd fret on the B, 2nd on the G. So you play that 3, the B string, then the G, and then down to the D. So it's kind of like a weird timing. Then you gotta pick across them again, but by the time you get down to the D string again, you're gonna move to the 3rd fret there on the D, and then replace that note on that you just played on the the 3rd fret of the B string with your ring finger. So we have this. And then back. So after you get back, you put your finger here, you can pick that and then go to the G and D, and then pick from the high E string all the way across to the D string. So from here again. All right, so all together for that part. Repeat. Four times all together. So the 4th time, when you get to that note, when you move to that chord right there with the note on the 3rd fret on the D, just kind of strum across the chord from the open A all the way to the high E. And that's when you start hearing the guitar is kind of swelled in, kind of. All right, so from there, we have this. All right, so that's kind of the end of the intro and into the actual verse of the song. So we have, we're going to start here, just the A power chord. The open A string, 2nd fret there, and the D and the G. And then you're going to come up, you just play the 5th fret on the D, 6th on the G. And then just move the note on the G string down to the 4th fret, still keeping that note on the 5th fret of the D. And then back to the 1st chord. So then you hit the open A string real quick, just kind of palm muted. And you go to this D major here, which is the 4th fret there on the D, 2nd fret on the G, and 3rd fret on the B. So with this. From there, we're going to go to that chord that we did in the acoustic intro, the 3rd fret on the D, 2nd on the G, 3rd on the B. You're going to hit that chord, and then move the note up on the B string to the 5th fret, and then back down to the 3rd fret. Then it kind of hits that A power chord and starts kind of, now we're doing a lot of the same riff, but we're going to kind of just keeping that kind of a muted A string chugging underneath it in between all the hits. So all together. So as soon as you hit that last chord, we have this little ending, which is a 1-3 on the low E string. Then the open A string, and then play 3-2 on the A, over to 3 on the low E. And then you get to the open A power chord. And when you hit the open A power chord, that's pretty much the beginning of the actual verse, which looks like this. All right, so that verse moves around quite a bit, and the second half of it is not easy to play. There's a lot of thumb chords and stuff. So let's take a look at it. We're going to start with a kind of a single note riff. So you just hit this A power chord real quick. And then you come down to the open E string. So the open E string once, then back, then over to the 4th fret on the A string, and then kind of a couple of low E opens there, so like this. Then you're gonna pull off 4 to 3 on the A, over to 3, I'm sorry, 4 to 2 on the A, over to 3 on the low E string, so like this. So then you kind of go in that same rhythm. So that 3 over to back to the 4 on the A, back to the 3, and then the 4 a couple times on the A. So like this. So. And then go to the 2nd fret there on the low E string. And you're gonna now kind of, same thing we did here, but between 2 on the low E and 5 on the A. So we have this. Then you get down to the 1st fret there on the low E and hold that for just a second. And then, and this is a little bit different little riff than we played going into the verse. This one kind of skips the open A string. So we just go, because you're holding that 1st fret a little bit, and then go 1, 3 on the low E string, and straight over to 3, 2 on the A, over to 3 on the low E. And then you kind of go back to that A power chord to start everything over. So after you've done that twice, you go back to the A power chord, and then we start mixing it up a little bit. So to play this, you know, sounding like the album, you need to use those thumb chords and still get all that stuff that's going on with the chords on top. So we're going to start here with, basically we're going to start with the A power chord, right? And then jump up here, we have the open A string, 7th fret there on the D and 6th fret on the G. So you basically just gonna do a little melody there with the chord on the G string. So we had the 6th fret on the G, then the down to 4, and then back to 6. So you see, I'm kind of holding that note there on the D string. And in between the hits, still keeping that A going. And then what it's going to do is move down here. So the first time through here is a little bit different than the second time through. You come down to this chord here, 5th fret there on the D, and 4th fret on the G, with the 3rd fret on the low E. So here, you're just gonna play that chord and then go add the 6th fret there on the G. So that part's a little bit different the second time around, because we're just gonna go from this chord to this and hit this a few times, and that's it. So hit this. Now here, chords get a little tougher because you gotta grab this low E string with your thumb at the 2nd fret. And while you do that, you're holding that D major that we did earlier. So that 4th fret on the D, 2nd on the G, and 3rd on the B. And what you want to do is bar across the 2nd fret across the B and the G string. It's like this. That way, you can do that because you're going like this, and then you take the melody note down to the second fret on the B, and then back up to the third fret. So like this. And then you take the note down to the first fret on the low E string, and then we're playing that same chord that we did in the intro here, but you can play it with these three strings, these fingers, so you can grab this. So your third fret on the D, second on the G, and third on the B. So you just gotta hit those chords like that all together. Remember, you gotta mute that A string. And then he just picks across the strings, heavily palmed. From the D string all the way to the high E, and then back down to the G. So all together. Then you get this A power chord again, you start over, and it's just slightly different. Right here. Right there, it kind of continues the same pattern here that we're gonna do here is now. That's it. So instead of going 4, 6, and just kind of stay on the 6, we go 6, 4, 6. So it's the same pattern as before. So. This, everything else is the same. All right, so all together for the whole verse looks like this. All right, then it gets to the pre-chorus, which looks like this. All right, so we're going to start here, just a regular B minor bar chord. So this is at the bar across the second fret there, from the high E to the A string. And then you're going to play the third fret on the B, fourth on the G, and the D. So I'm just basically kind of randomly picking through that chord a little bit. And then you're going to have this little line that, well, as you're leaving the B minor chord. So open high E string, pull off 3 to 2 on the B, over to 4 on the G. So it is. Now you're going to take that to an E minor add 9 chord. So that's going to be open E string, second fret on the A, 4 on the D, open G. So you just kind of pick across those 4 strings. And then, now you had that little guitar line, that's what he plays live too. It's kind of the more dominant line there, but it's an overdub. You hear, you hear the chords kind of continue to ring. So what I'm doing here is kind of gonna leave holding the chord, go into that little riff that he was doing. So it is. Then 2, 4, 5, 7, 5, 4, 2, 0. Back to the D minor. So it's all in the A string. So far we had this. So back to the B minor and kind of just pick across. That same little figure that to leave the B minor, back to the E minor, add 9. So now from the E minor add 9 this time, you're gonna do this. It's one of my favorite parts of the song. The whole song was really awesome. The whole thing is just killer. Just builds and builds and builds. So we have. So that's the 4th fret on the D and the G together. And then you're gonna play, keep that 4th fret on the D, and you're gonna play the 3rd fret there on the G. And then you just chug on that F sharp in the bass, the 2nd fret. And you just gotta, underneath that part, just kind of go up between those 2 chords on the D and the G. So this. Then we get to the chorus, which has 2 really definitive guitar parts. So he does play the little arpeggiated line, which I think is the main part live. But for that to really work really well, you hear the chords ringing underneath it. So there are chords. So I'm going to show you the chords real quick that are played underneath that part, and then we'll get to the arpeggiated part. So for the chorus, chords looks like this. So I'm going to pretty much just show you the open position chords that are going there. All the other stuff that I was doing, I'll show you when I'm doing the arpeggiated line, because that's really what he does live. He leads the arpeggiated line to play that, and then also the other little ending. So I'll save that for when I'm doing that. But so really the chorus is just a D to A, G, and A. Again, D to A. And then here is when we have this little. So when we do this, that's when Vito actually left the arpeggiated part and jumped down here. Did that. So I will do that in that part coming up, and then we're just back to the D, A, the G. So after going D, A, G, A, and then D, A again, then we have the ending, which is going to be covered in the arpeggiated part. So anyway, so what Vito's actually playing live over this for the chorus is this. All right, so what we're going to do here is this little D major arpeggio first. So that's just from the 10th fret on the B to the 11th fret on the G to the 12th fret on the D. So these arpeggios are all palm muted. So you don't want to get. That would sound dumb. It's. You got to help the notes be separated in. Kind of let them sing a little bit too at that top line. So we had this. So it's 10, 11, 12, then again. Then back to the 10 on the B, and then you're going to pick that 10 twice, but you're going to replace it with this finger the second time, because it's going to now go across an A major triad. So we're going with D to the A. So we had this. So here, we're just 10 on the B string, 9 on the G, 11 on the D. So pick across those 3 notes twice. And then back to the, just picking across from the B to the G string. Then do the same thing down 2 frets on the G chord. So this is when we get to the G in the progression. So same thing, so we have this. Here though, instead of hitting that last note there on the G like that in the pattern, you scoot back up here to the A major arpeggio. So we have this. Then back to the D. And the A. And then after you play through that arpeggio twice there, that's when we jump down. So that goes 3, 2, 0 on the low E. And when you get that open E string, you're gonna pick across that E minor add 9 again. So open E, 2nd on the A, 4 on the D, open G. There's a quick little hit, I think. It's kind of muted. There's a little hit there, so it almost sounds like they're hitting the 3rd fret real quick and light on the low E string into an A, and then that's kind of just 2nd fret then on the G. And then 2, 3 on the B, and then kind of a hammer, pull, open, over to 2 on the G. So wait this. Then kind of start over the course. So now the next ending, instead of doing this, it goes. All right, so we had this. So start leading into the C chord. Just 0, 2 on the A to a C chord. You pick across to that. And then it's a G chord with the B and the bass. So you're gonna play the 3rd, 2nd fret there on the A string and the 3rd fret there on the B. And they had this little, he's picking like, you really hear that in the thing, so you kind of palm mute those in. Make them come out a little bit. So that's the B string, the G, and then high E, B, G. So I kind of started with the open G there. And then, so we have. So you can't really pick very far. So as soon as you pick back from the high E down to the B, you gotta start the next bass line. And that goes 3, 5, 6 on the low E into this B flat major chord. So that goes 3, 5, 6. You're gonna play the 5th fret on the A, 3rd on the D and the G. Into an F major bar chord. Into an A power chord. So all together for the chorus. party time. We have made it to Vito's solo. So I'm going to go through this solo, play through it for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it note for note. So here we go. All right, so that one has got some crazy stuff in it. So let's start here with this first line. So, all right, so you're gonna start here with this second fret there on the G string. Then tap an octave higher there at the 14th fret there on the G. And then you're gonna bend up the note that you're playing on the down here in the left hand up a whole step and release. So by the way, so what am I doing with the pick here throughout this solo? Because some notes are picked, especially at the end of the solo, you gotta jump back to the pick pretty quick. And there's a couple of notes in there that are picked, and then all of a sudden he's tapping again. So what I do, this is not what every player does, but this is what I like to do. Something I picked up from this is what Nuno Bittencourt does. So saw this in a magazine in the early 90s. This is what he does with his pick when he taps, and I copied him. So becomes very natural after a while. So you hold the pick normal, right? So what I do is I move the pick behind the fingers there into the joint of the middle finger. So between the two knuckles of the middle finger is just where I tuck my pick in. And then that allows me to come very quick and grab it and have it as a normal, so just like that. You can just go back that fast. And you don't even think about it after a while. So I can throw it in there, whatever I'm tapping, and then I get it back to a picking in just a millisecond. So you get used to that little maneuver to where you don't even think about it. So that's what I'm doing when you're like, what is this? His pick disappears and it comes back. And that's what's going on. So wait this. So after you do that bend and release, slide it up to the 21st fret there. Then you're going to pull off to the open G string and hammer on 6, 7, 9 on the G. So with this. So after you do that 6, 7, 9, tap 14, pull back off to the 9, and pull off to 7, and then go back to the 9. And when you do the 9, when you go back to the 9, you do a whole step bend. But kind of the same time you're coming back down with the 9, so you go. So you see where I kind of drop the 9 with the ring finger in the fret hand at the same time as the 12th fret. And remember, the bending is being done down here. The bending and vibrato is being done by the fret hand still, so you don't try to do that with this finger. This finger's just tapping and going along to the right. So we have this. It's always hard to do this stuff in like slow motion. So you get that bend and pull off to that note that's still bent. And then you tap at the 19th fret there on the G. So as that note, you just pull it, go up here and tap. Before you release the bend, tap the 19th fret on the G. And then release. Pretty tricky stuff. From there, you're going to pull off to 9, then pull off to 7. And there's you hammer back onto the 9th fret there on the G. And do a series of half-step bend and release. And then you're going to this 13th fret there on the G. Release, pull, and release the bend. You can basically pull back off and release the bend. Then we have this, which is going to be tapping real quick the 12th fret on the G. Pull off to 7 in the fret hand, hammer 10, pull back off to 7, slide down to 6, little bend and release there, over to 7 on the D string. So all together we have ending there, and from here, you're gonna come up and grab, kind of hammer on from nowhere, this 10th fret there on the B string. And it's a bend and release of that 10th fret on the B. But as he's releasing the note, you're gonna do a touch harmonic. So you can pick that note. So all I'm doing there, I'm picking the note, and when you get to the top, just touch the string. You're not whacking it or not tapping it or trying to do a tap harmonic. You're doing a touch harmonic. So it's just barely touching the string 12 frets higher. They're at the 22nd fret. And then get off the string so you let it ring. Very delicate little technique, but always sounds really cool. And then we're going to come back up here. So that's going to be, so kind of some bend and release, half step bend and release there at the 14th fret on the B string. Back up to the bend. So as you get a bend up, release, bend back up, tap 21, pull back off, tap 18, pull back off, tap 20, pull back off, and then 16, pull back off. So this. From there, you got a quick little trill between 12 and 14, and then slide down to 10. So leading up to that part we had there, and then we're gonna, so that little thing, like, we're basically tapping 15, pulling off to 12, and hammer on 14. And he's kind of doing it, it's almost like a blur. So he kind of, so I'm just kind of there's a little bend in there, little inflection. So we have from here, slide down to 8. And then back to that kind of same figure, but instead of sliding down anywhere, you're gonna go into that last little bit. So this is the trickiest part of the song to get exactly like the recording. So that part right there, you're gonna start tap 9 on the A string, pull off to the open A, hammer on 5, then tap that 9 again, pull back off to the 5. Then you're gonna tap, add a hammer on from nowhere, the 7th fret there on the D, tap 12 on the D, and we'll pull back off to 7 on the D. So this. then if you pull it off there, jump up here to the 14th fret on the G string, tap 14, pull off to 7, and hammer on 9. So what I do here, hammer on that 9, you tap 14 again, and then do a quick double tap. Hit that little note in there. Now some people think that that note's like just kind of a little, you know, happy mistake in there, but I don't think it is, because there's actually, he kind of accentuates it and he puts a little quick vibrato on it. So he's actually, you hear him, it's got vibrato on it, so he's actually emphasizing that note. So you got to hit that. So that's a tap harmonic. So you play the note and then do a quick tap on it. Just at 5 frets in front of it. So you have the 9th fret there, and you tap the 14th fret on the G string. So we do the tap it normal, pull off to 7, hammer on 9, tap it normal, and then hit that little pinch harmonic. Tap harmonic. And then come over here. We're gonna be really hard to get that tap harmonic every time. The 2 live videos I saw him do of it, he didn't hit it. So you're gonna play 15 on the B, pull off to 8, and then hammer on 10. You do that twice. And then you're gonna tap 17, pull off to 10, tap 15, pull off to 10, tap 14, pull off to 10, and that last one, after you pull off to 10, pull off to 8, and that starts that last little phrase. So what he does here is kind of hard to get down to sound right if you're not playing it fast. So we're gonna, from this 8, slide to 14 and do a half step bend and release. And then you're gonna pull off 16, 14 on the G. Then from there, you're just gonna repeat. That's gonna be pulling off 15 to 14 on the B to 16, pull off to 14 on the G. And then, after doing that a few times, you're gonna make it down to the 16, and then hop up to 17 on the B string for a second. So this. Then it's pretty much the same lick again, except you're pulling off from the 17 to 14 on the B, and then 16, 14 on the G. Now this last one, it sounds different than the other licks because he's playing it differently. So it's almost like it almost sounds like he's just hammering all of them, and he's hammering across 3 notes. So there's 3 notes here, and it's this A up top, the 17th fret on the high E string, then the D here on the B string at the 15th fret, and then the A here on the G string at the 14th fret. So it sounds like he's just going across those 3 notes, and he could just be hammering them. Just like that. Or he could be picking the top note with his middle finger, hammering on the middle note, and then picking the low note with his pick. I kind of opt just the sound he's got on it, the notes are kind of blending in together, so they're not completely like just. like you're sweeping it or anything. It sounds like he's hammering them, and they're kind of bleeding into one another. And then into the 21st fret, half step bend and release, half step bend again, and then back down without the bend. So it is. All right, so that solo is killer, but it is incredibly challenging to get it exactly like like he plays it. So good luck. All right, so coming out of solo, we have the same pre-chorus that we had before, the same chorus that we had before, and then the chorus is at the very end is extended. So say this is the end of the last chorus. It's extended with these chords. So that's a D major chord to an A to a C to a G. And then we're going to end the heavy part with a B power chord, and then an F major chord with A in the bass. So that's that first fret there on the A, 3 on the D, and the G. So we have that, and then we're going to go to the open A string, and then the 3rd fret on the D, 2nd on the G, 1st on the B. So this. And then we get to this outro back on the 12th string, a little bit different chord, a little bit different pattern than we did earlier. So it looks like this little outro section. Really, really nice. So this is going to be the 5th fret on the B, 6th on the G, and 7 on the D. So the picking pattern, you're going to start with the open A string and work your way all the way across to the high E string and then back down to the D. And now we're going to keep that same exact picking pattern with the next chord, which is going to be the 5th fret on the D, 6 on the G, and 5 on the B. So from there, we're going to have 4th fret there on the D, 2nd fret across. You go ahead and bar it across from the G to the high E string at the 2nd fret, and in front of that, you're going to have the 3rd fret there on the B. So this is a D major chord with an A in the bass. So same picking pattern we did before. And then that same chord that we did at the end, which is just that open A, 3rd fret on the, we did this in the intro and stuff, 3rd fret on the D string, 2nd fret there on the G, 3rd fret there on the B. So we're gonna play across. So the same picking pattern each time, so we have this. And the second time through, you're gonna just do this on the last chord instead of picking up and down through it. Just pick slower across it from the open A to the high E string. And that is it. This is just such a fantastic song. It just has so many cool acoustic sections, really cool riffs in it. One of the greatest guitar solos ever written. So it's just a wall of melody. It's just like perfectly done. So I just really, really love playing this song, and I hope you guys will too. All right, I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.